the whole. Cuts and wounds which caused death. Those stark words, etched on the indictment, brought Leopold Renard, an upholsterer, before the assize court. Around him sat the key witnesses, Madame Flamèche, the widow of the victim, Louis Ladureau, a cabinet maker, and Jean Dourdon, a plumber. Near the accused, his wife, Mélie, sat, cloaked in black, a small, rather plain woman, who resembled a monkey dressed in elegant attire. Renard began his defense, his voice a blend of defiance and desperation. "Good heavens! This is a tragedy where I am both the first and last victim," he declared, "and my will had absolutely no part in it. The facts speak for themselves, Monsieur le Président. I am an honest man, a hard-working man, an upholsterer who has resided in this street for the past 16 years. I am known, liked, respected, even esteemed by all, as my neighbors have testified. Even the porter, who is not known for his sunny disposition, will vouch for my character. I love my work. I love saving money. I love honest people and respectable pleasures. It's what ruined me, but it was entirely against my will. I still respect myself." He then launched into a detailed, almost self-indulgent narrative of his life, highlighting his mild temperament and his penchant for saving money. He pointed a finger at his wife, Mélie, blaming her for his predicament. He painted her as a shrew, a woman who constantly nagged him, criticizing his lack of aggression. Every day she found fault with my mild temper. "I wouldn't put up with this. I wouldn't put up with that." If I had listened to her, Monsieur le Président, I would have been in at least 3 fistfights a month. Mélie, seated in the courtroom, interrupted him, her voice laced with sarcasm. And for good reason, too. Those who laugh last, laugh best. Renard turned to her, a wry smile playing on his lips. "Well, I can blame you, since you're the cause of all this." He then turned back to the president, his voice regaining its momentum. "We'd go to Passy every Saturday evening, to be ready to start fishing at dawn the next morning. It's a habit that's become second nature to us. 3 years ago, I discovered this perfect spot. A paradise for any fisherman. Hidden in the shade, it was a deep hole, 8 feet of water at least, perhaps 10, with a protected area under the bank. It was a fish haven, and I felt like it's Christopher Columbus, its discoverer. Everyone knew about it, but no one dared to encroach on my territory. They'd say, 'That's Renard's spot,' and nobody would have dared to go there, not even Monsieur Plumsay, who is known, without any offense intended, for claiming other people's fishing spots. I felt as certain of that hole as if I owned it," he continued. "I was on my way to my spot, as usual, one Saturday. I got into Delilah, my Norwegian boat, built by Formes, a light and sturdy vessel. Mélie was with me. We were going to bait the spot. I'm a master baiter, everyone knows that. You want to know what I use? I can't tell you. It's my secret. Hundreds have asked, offering brandy, fried fish, even meals. But no one has ever figured it out. It's the key to success. Only Mélie knows, but she won't tell. Just like I won't. Is that right, Mélie?" The president of the court interrupted him. "Get to the facts, Monsieur Renard, as quickly as possible." "I am getting there. I am getting there," he responded, his voice growing more agitated. "Well, it was Saturday, the 8th of July. We left on the 5:25 train, and before dinner we went to bait the spot, as usual. The weather looked promising, and I said to Mélie, 'Looks good for tomorrow.' And she replied, 'It does indeed.' We never say more than that. We returned for dinner. I was happy and thirsty, and that's where everything went wrong. I said to Mélie, 'You know what, Mélie, it's beautiful weather. How about a bottle of cascamèche?' It's a white wine. We named it that because if you drink too much of it, it keeps you awake. It's the opposite of a nightcap, you see. She said, "You can do what you want, but you'll feel sick again, and you won't be able to get up tomorrow." She was right, sensible, prudent, clear-headed. But I couldn't resist, and I drank my bottle. It all comes back to that. I couldn't sleep. I stayed awake until 2 in the morning. Then, I slept so soundly, I wouldn't have heard the angel's trumpet at the Last Judgment. Millie woke me at 6 o'clock, and I jumped out of bed. I quickly got dressed, washed my face, and rushed to Delilah. But it was too late. When I arrived at my spot, it was already occupied. That had never happened in 3 years. It felt like someone was robbing me right under my nose. I cursed my fate, but Mélie started nagging. "What about your cascameshi? Get a move on, you drunkard! Are you satisfied, you great fool?" I couldn't respond, because she was right, and so I landed near the spot and tried to salvage what was left. Maybe they weren't catching anything. Maybe they'd leave. He was a skinny man wearing a white linen coat and waistcoat, a big straw hat on his head. His wife, a plump woman with her embroidery in hand, stood behind him. When she saw us taking up a position near their spot, she muttered, "I suppose there are no other spots on the river?" My wife, furious, replied, "People who know how to behave inquire about the habits of the area before taking a reserved spot." I didn't want a scene, so I said to her, "Hold your tongue, Mélie. Let them be, let them be. We'll see." We tied Delilah up under the willow trees, and we landed and were fishing side by side, Mélie and I, close to the other couple. But here, monsieur, I must be precise. We hadn't been there 5 minutes when our neighbor's float went down several times, and he pulled out a chub as thick as my thigh, almost as big as my thigh, maybe a bit smaller, but huge. My heart pounded. I was sweating, and Mélie said, "Well, you drunkard, did you see that?" Just then, Monsieur Brou, the grocer from Poissy, who was fond of fishing for gudgeon, passed by in a boat and called out, "So someone's taken your usual spot, Monsieur Renard." And I replied, "Yes, Monsieur Brou. There are some people in this world who don't understand common courtesy." The little man in linen pretended not to hear, and neither did his fat wife. The president of the court interrupted him. "Be careful, monsieur. You're insulting the widow, Madame Flamèche, who is present." Renard apologized. "I beg your pardon, I beg your pardon. My anger got the better of me." Well, a quarter of an hour hadn't passed when the little man caught another chub, then another almost immediately, and another 5 minutes later. My eyes welled up with tears. I knew Mélie was boiling with rage because she kept muttering, "How awful! Don't you see he's stealing your fish? Do you think you'll catch anything? Not even a frog. Nothing. My hands are burning just thinking about it." But I told myself, let's wait until noon. Then this poacher will go to lunch, and I'll get my spot back. As for me, Monsieur le Président, I always have lunch on the spot every Sunday. We bring our provisions in Delilah. But no, at 12 o'clock, the scoundrel pulled a chicken out of a newspaper, and while he was eating, he caught another chub. Mélie and I had a bite too, a tiny morsel, barely a mouthful, because our hearts weren't in it. Then I took out my newspaper to aid my digestion. Every Sunday, I read Gil Blas in the shade beside the water. You know, it's Columbine's Day. Columbine, the writer for Gil Blas. I usually get Mélie riled up by pretending to know her. It's not true, of course. I've never met her. But it doesn't matter. She writes very well, and she speaks her mind. I like her, and there aren't many women like her. I started teasing Mélie, but she immediately got mad, so I kept my mouth shut. Just then, our 2 witnesses who are here today, Monsieur Ladoureau and Monsieur Durdant, appeared on the other side of the river. We knew each other by sight. The little man started fishing again, and he caught so many fish, I was trembling with frustration. His wife said, "This is an amazing spot. We should come here all the time, Desire." A cold shiver ran down my spine. Mélie kept repeating, "You're not a man. You've got the blood of a chicken in your veins." And suddenly I said to her, "Look, I'd rather go, or I'm going to do something stupid." She whispered to me, as if she'd held a red-hot iron under my nose, "You're not a man. Now you're going to run away and give up your spot? Go ahead, Bazaine." I felt her words, but I didn't move. The little man pulled out a bream. I'd never seen one that big in my life. And then my wife started talking out loud, as if thinking her trickery obvious. She said, "You could call that stealing fish, seeing as we baited the spot ourselves. They should at least give us back the money we spent on bait." The fat woman in the cotton dress responded, "Do you mean to call us thieves, madam?" And then they started arguing, and things got heated. Lord, those women! They can really spit fire. They were shouting so loud, our two witnesses on the other bank called out jokingly, "Less noise over there, you'll scare the fish away." Neither of us moved, as if we were two tree stumps. We stood there, staring at the water, as if we hadn't heard a thing. But believe me, we heard everything. "You're a liar. You're a hussy. You're just a trollop. You're a strumpet." And on, it was worse than anything a sailor could come up with. Suddenly, I heard a noise behind me. I turned around, and there she was, the fat woman. She'd attacked my wife with her parasol. Whack! Whack! Mélie got two of them in, but she was furious, and she hits hard when she's angry. She grabbed the woman by the hair, and then thump, thump. Slaps rained down like ripe plums. I should have let them fight. Women fighting women, men fighting men. You shouldn't mix the blows. But the little man in the linen jacket jumped up like a devil and charged at my wife. No, not that. I caught him with the back of my fist. Crash! Crash! One on the nose, the other in the stomach. He flailed his arms and legs, then fell backward into the river, right into the hole. I would have pulled him out, Monsieur le Président, if I'd had the time. But, unfortunately, the fat woman was winning, and she was giving Mélie a real beating. I know I shouldn't have helped her while the man was taking a swim, but I never thought he'd drown. Bah! It'll cool him down, I thought. So I ran to the women to break them up, and all I got were scratches and bites. Good Lord, those creatures! It took me 5 minutes, maybe 10, to separate those two termagants. When I turned back, there was nothing to be seen. The water was calm as a lake. The others on the other bank yelled, "Pull him out!" It was all well and good to say that, but I can't swim, and even less can I dive. Finally, the man from the dam came and two gentlemen with boat hooks, but it took over a quarter of an hour. He was found at the bottom of the hole, in 8 feet of water, as I said, but he was dead, the poor little man in his linen suit. There are the facts, I swear to it. I am innocent, on my honor. The witnesses, Monsieur Ladoureau and Monsieur Durdant, gave similar testimonies, and Renard was acquitted. He was free, but the chilling memory of that fateful day by the water, the clash of tempers, and the accidental death would forever linger in the shadows of his life. The end. If you like the story, hit that like button and subscribe for more videos. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Was there anything that surprised you? Who's your favorite character in the story? I can't wait to hear your thoughts.